It's 7 o'clock. Why don't we get started with the meeting? It's the March 25th meeting of the Hamilton Conservation Commission. And first order of business is to take roll and see if we have a quorum. And I can see that we do, but I'll do the asking anyway because everything is recorded and we need to identify ourselves by name so that whoever is transcribing this knows who's speaking. Thank you. Virginia Cookson.
Here.
Jeremy
Oh,
Foster?
Cookson. If you want me to say my whole name, or just acknowledge or say my name.
Yeah, no, you don't have to say your name.
Okay.
You can just say you're here. Denise Kelly.
Here.
Jeremy Foster?
Here.
And Sandy Cotting.
Here.
Okay, great. We have a full house today. Good to see you all. And as usual, I got papers everywhere, so bear with me as we try to go through the agenda this evening. The first item that's on the agenda is a notice of intent for Mass DEP file number 172-0664, 0 Glendale Avenue, which is a continuation of a hearing we had for a project at 0 Glendale Avenue. We were looking for, yes, Bethany?
The applicant has requested a continuance until the April 8th meeting.
Okay.
Wow.
Will they be making a presentation tonight or speaking?
I honestly do not see any representatives for them.
Okay, all right. So we need to take a vote, I guess, or a motion to continue.
I move that we continue.
I'll second. Denise Kelly, I'll second.
We'll call roll on that. Jeremy Foster?
Aye.
Denise Kelly?
Aye.
Sandy Cotting?
Aye.
And Virginia Cookson?
Aye.
And Nancy Baker, aye. Okay, they did submit some information, just an FYI, but it came in rather late. And Bethany's been working with the applicant to ensure that the material comes in that we need in order to review it.
Yes.
Okay. And the next one is
I have a question. Hi, I'm Patty Splain. I have an abutting property to the proposed. So what was the extension date that they moved to? I didn't catch the date.
Sorry, Patty. They requested a continuance to the next meeting, which is April 8th, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay. I guess I can join then. I do have questions about certain things, like did they hire a wetland specialist? Have they surveyed the land properly? Is any of this going to be on my property? And the disturbance of water, right? But that's part of all of what you're doing.
correct.
So,
Correct.
Where do you live? Across, next to?
next to.
The bottom. Yeah.
So I'm an abutter and I own, I forget what number, Glendale Ave on the other side. I'm
In Wenham? Are you in Wenham?
No, I'm in Hamilton.
Okay.
I'm in Hamilton. The concerns that I had is when they had built Juniper Lane way back when, the property that we own now, we didn't own it back then. They didn't properly do the drainage. So this whole property, which was like 5 house lots, was completely flooded, and the town paid to move the house and did a filler, right? And so part of the land became wetlands.
All right, well, we'll be very happy to hear from you. And if you would like to write any of this information down and send us a formal letter on that, we'll be happy to review that before that meeting.
I don't disagree with them building. I just want to make sure the property doesn't get flooded, right? And have the wetlands grow. So sure. And do I just send a letter to Bethany? She's been very helpful. Tell me how to get minutes and things.
Yes, that would be good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you
nice
very
to
much.
meet you. We'll look forward to seeing you.
I'll drop off and let you guys do your thing.
Yep.
Have a nice night, Patty.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Good night. Okay. The second item is a request for certification compliance. It's Mass DEP file number 1720621. The address is 138 and 140 Echo Cove Road in Hamilton. And the applicant is Mr. William Haw. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name right. I see that Mr. Haw is here tonight. Yeah.
Hello.
So how?
That's how we say it, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry for mispronouncing. your name.
My parents taught it to me that way. In Ireland it's pronounced Huck, but my parents said how, so that's what I
Okay.
say.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Would you want to make a presentation on your certificate of compliance?
I am going to lean on my professionals who are also on the call,
Yes.
Caitlin and Joe.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Caitlin White. I'm a wetland scientist from Hancock Associates. Joe and I are here on behalf of Bill for this request. If I can, I'd like to share my screen so I can just share the plans.
You should be able to.
Yeah. Okay. Can everyone see the plans here now?
It's coming up. Yep.
Good. Okay. Awesome. So like you said, this order of conditions, it was issued back in 2021. The approved work was renovations to existing dwellings on site, in a new garage, which is almost entirely out of the 100-foot buffer zone. The applicant purchased this property in hopes to be closer to his family. He has some grandkids that he is hoping to enjoy the property with. So since the permit has been approved, it has gone through a few modifications, as well as a permit extension, which has taken place. Since then, the construction has been completed with some slight modifications, but overall, the project is relatively the same. I'll just outline some of the adjustments. So I want to highlight that minimal groundwork was done with this scope of work. The intent was to reuse the existing foundations from the previous structures and just bring them up to livable standards. They were kind of deteriorating. There were porches that were kind of falling into the lake, things like that. So since then, Bill has taken on this project to bring them up to snuff, and it turned out very nice. The site is currently stable. There were no illicit discharges into the lake. The shoreline is still intact and stable. The deviations that did take place is that, let's start with 138. So this is 138. It's two dwellings on one lot. 138, one of the biggest differences is that the deck was kind of rounded off, and these stairs that were proposed were not constructed. In their place, there's this corner of decking that was completed. That's kind of the main difference for that one. It is slightly closer to the lake, about 1 foot, but I want to highlight that the decking has spacing in between it that allows for water to infiltrate, and below there is stone that would infiltrate any sediment that would come from stormwater. And then for 140, this stairway was originally proposed facing this way, but there are some mature trees here that Bill was hoping to save. And that is the reason for this relocation, to save some mature trees that are existing here along the side of the house. This deck also, just based on during the construction process, it is slightly closer as well. But again, it's just the decking. The footing has not changed. They're still in the same locations. And then this stairway was not completed. It was just determined that it wasn't a worthwhile staircase, so this deck just ends right here. As you can see, this garage farther back away from the resource area was originally proposed outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Just due to feasibility with turning around, they flipped the orientation of the garage to aim this way. So this is where the
Yeah.
garage bays are. And so it does encroach slightly into 100-foot buffer zone. Um, Overall, there was correspondence between the applicant and the commission. Unfortunately, with the change of agents, that kind of got lost in the shuffle. But the intent during the whole process was to construct this as approved and complete the project while being respectful to the resource area. We feel like even with these deviations that the project was completed to the utmost compliance as it could be. And we didn't have any negative reactions to the lake. Erosion controls were in place the entire time, no breaches. Yeah, and we've been on site with Bethany. We addressed as many of her questions as we could, but I would be happy to field any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to start, if that's possible, and then I'll ask the commissioners to speak. The lake is a really valuable resource to both the state and the community. As you probably know, it's a great lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than 10 acres. So we try to pay special attention to impacts within wetland resource areas, particularly with respect to any resource, but more so because of Chabaco Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And waivers are not granted lightly. And I see that you did apply for a waiver with a notice of intent. And I guess in spending a lot of time with the materials, I'm a little bit concerned that the order, there were special conditions in that order, and they don't seem to have been followed exactly. And I hope you can enlighten me about that, because they were really clear in number 23 and 24 and on that, let me see if I've got them. They were really clear, and they specifically said the plans shall be followed precisely. And the word shall means shall. That means exactly as they're drafted. That's what the Conservation Commission in that time agreed to. And keep in mind that the 25-foot no disturb zone in our bylaw, and we're pretty strict about the bylaw with respect to the 25-foot. And that's no disturbance and no construction. So that they were pretty accommodating when they allowed you to do any work within the 25-foot. And that's why that language was in there, that there will be followed precisely. And that there will be no deviation in the plan unless and until the Conservation Commission is notified and gives its authority, or the agent for the commission gives its approval. We went through the materials that you sent, and we could find no evidence either in our records. Bethany and another person scoured our records. She spent a lot of time going through them and could find no evidence of either agent that was apparently identified in the filing with us that any of them had approved this change, nor had the Conservation Commission been notified. And also, it was troubling to me that they were very specific with these special conditions and saying that within 30 days of completion of the project, you must apply for a certificate of compliance. Now, we're not really that strict on that usually, but it's interesting that that condition was in there. But it's been 4 years, 3.5 years that this project has been completed. And I did see among the materials that you did submit, the emails, that correspondence, that you were told multiple times by the agent that he was looking for that certificate of compliance. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I don't think we have time to go into all of those. So I guess between the fact that you've expanded the development within the no disturb zone in the 25-foot, and we were told specifically, no deviation, I am very concerned. I also am concerned that one of the conditions of the waiver was an ecological restoration, and that was not submitted that I could find in the materials. If it was submitted, I apologize, but I could not find an ecological restoration with the submittal. So let's see, where does that leave me? I know that there are a number of issues outstanding then as a result. The ecological restoration, unless there is one that I missed. And I know that Bethany had asked for some computations about impervious cover so that we try to match up with the ecological restoration, no additional imperviousness. And, you know, when you calculate imperviousness, we also include everything, even if there's slats between it and a deck. That's always been the way that it's been done. So whatever additional coverage over that property, it would be helpful to know that, and then to try to match up the infiltration of stormwater on that site. And also maybe to look at some of the plan. I mean, I saw that there were some concrete steps, something more could be done there with ecological restoration. You've got a big driveway area there that could all be restored back into natural vegetation. So I think there's a lot we can do here that would go a long way towards resolving these issues. But I think we're a ways off at this point. And in my opinion, in looking at what we can do with the certificate of compliance, I think the commission has the decision to either make to deny it based on non-compliance or an amended order of conditions where we work with you and try to come up with a plan that more clearly meets what the waiver request included, as well as addresses some of these deficiencies of you moving forward and more close to the lake. And our interest here is protecting that lake by and large, because it is such an important resource to our community. And I'm sure that's why the homeowner wants to live there, because it is a beautiful resource and he wants to protect it, I'm sure. I know I haven't heard from him and I don't want to speak for you, Mr. Howe, but you wouldn't move to that beautiful location if you really didn't want to do the best you can to protect it and work with us. So I just wanted to start there. I usually let the commissioners speak first, but I felt very concerned in looking at this and I wanted to speak first, and I hope the commission isn't concerned that I've done so as the chairperson, but I will open it to questions and comments and maybe we can work from there and get your thoughts on it. Denise Kelly.
So Nancy, I absolutely have no problem with you speaking first, and I think a lot of what you said I echo. I think my main concern is that the decking did go forward and the garage was flipped and into the zone, and I can't find anything regarding the deck in writing that was approved. There were, in the submission, it said that it was discussed, but I can't find anything saying that it was approved by either of the prior commissioners. So for me, that is a concern, because why go through the process of asking for approval if it's not going to be done as requested?
Thank you. Others? Comments?
I have a whole page, so I'll let everybody else go first, and maybe I won't have so much to ask, okay?
Okay. All right. Are there other comments before Virginia raises her comments? No. Sandy, I don't see you again. Are you raising your hand?
I'm not. I think between you and Denise have covered a lot of my thoughts, so you can go over to Virginia.
Okay. Thank you. Virginia?
I'm sorry, I just have to get my screen back on. It's very touchy. Okay. Good. Look, oh, I'm on, but I can't see myself or anything. Okay, my questions varied a lot. But I had obvious questions is, why did they make the two changes? It sounds to me that's because, well, they had wood that would go out, say, 16 feet, and if it calls for 15, well, we don't want to cut the wood, so just leave it on there. I really do think that sometimes that happens. And I'd like to know, why they did it, just because they wanted it? I mean, was there an actual reason that they needed it? Secondly, you'll find that the staircase proposed on both of them, or at least on one of them, no, both, one was like in the no build and they moved it to the no disturb zone. And they put the garage, which was out of the buffer, into the buffer. And I believe the other staircase goes into it also goes into deeper into the no disturb, I believe. So that concerns me, and I'd like to know why you did all that.
Can I answer? Is that?
Sure.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Please.
So the reason that the decks moved out is because the applicant had a addition that went here, a cantilevered addition that pushed it out slightly, on both of the decks. The reason that this is a staircase I think you're referencing, Virginia, it moved from the no build to the no disturb to save a tree.
Yes.
I also wanted to highlight that this lot was developed prior. It was developed in I think 1930,
Yep.
prior to the development to the enactment of the Wetlands Protection Act as well as the local bylaws. So it is an existing non-conforming site, which I understand I just want to highlight that. I understand that the intent is still to protect the resource area, but these structures were already here and these buffer zones were already developed. And I can understand that they did go slightly closer to the resource area, but it's only a foot closer for 138 and it's 2 feet closer for 140.
Can you please give us the accounting for that? I mean, what were the numbers that were in the NOI
Yeah.
for within, and how much increase, what percentage increase? What is the total amount now? I guess I was concerned that the NOI tried to belittle the fact that it was 118 square feet in the no disturb zone. No disturb means no disturbance. It's really clear in our bylaws. So it is significant to us. It may not be to the applicant or to you, but we want you to understand that that is significant.
Yeah.
It takes away habitat, it takes away the values of the wetland resource area, it diminishes it, and there was no ecological restoration proposed for any of these impacts.
Okay. We do have the breakdown and I can provide that. I think it'd be useful if I made it into a document so you guys could all review how the calculations were come, and so you can see the breakdown and what the actual structures were, if that is useful.
May I make a comment about that?
Of course, please identify yourself.
My name is Bill Howe. I'm the property owner.
Okay, well, it's just because there's a transcriber. We know who you were, but the transcriber won't know. Okay, thank you, Bill.
Oh, okay. Now do you know?
Now the transcriber will know. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I moved here from another part of the world, and this whole entire process has been extraordinarily confusing and convoluted to me. And every move that I've made has been coordinated with Mary Ellen Feener of the Hamilton Construction Department. And all along the way, as changes occurred, I ran this by her, as well as Rich Maloney, the building inspector, and I was pushed all the way through the Zoning Board of Appeals because of some of these changes we had made to the original plan, which was a guess by me in 2020 when we purchased this property, found two dilapidated buildings that were literally collapsing and falling apart, and we wanted to fix them up and make them nice. And so as we went through this entire process, I was constantly talking to the inspector, to the zoning department, and anytime anybody said, you know what, you need to go back to this organization, we had to do rodent things, we had to do zoning things. And I said, do I need to do anything about these modifications that we're making to the original guesstimate, which was what I applied for in 2020 with the wonderful folks at Hancock? And I said, if anything here triggers something, please tell me who I need to talk to and what I need to say. And there has been nothing. There have been 5 different people in the Conservation Commission that I've dealt with, starting with Bert Cummings, who was a wonderful young man, very helpful. And they've come and gone and come and gone. And every step of the way, I've reached out and said, is there anything I should be doing to be in compliance with your rules here in Hamilton, Massachusetts? And there's been absolutely nothing. So now you guys are telling me this stuff 5 years into the process, and I have played by the rules the entire way. I have not disturbed one single piece of dirt on that property that's anywhere near the lake. I am on the Chabaco Lake Watershed Association. I'm a member. I'm a senior member. I love the lake. I want to take care of things. I don't want to abuse the property. But you guys have dropped the ball over and over and over again. And I have been asking, what do I need to do to comply with these crazy rules? And so for you to tell me now that I didn't do something because of something in a document, I've talked to 5 different coordinators over the last 6 years. So
Mr.
I'm a
Howe,
little upset about this because I've done everything I was told I was supposed to do.
Mr. Howe, you received the order of conditions, correct?
This is all Greek to me. I come from a different planet. I'm from Minnesota. Things are very straightforward there. This is confusing to me. So
It is straightforward.
That's
It is
why I hired
straightforward here, too.
Hancock. May I speak, please?
Sure.
If you want to talk, go ahead. But then when you're ready to let me speak, please let me speak.
No, I don't want you to get more upset.
So this is why I hired Hancock and Associates. I've paid them an extraordinary amount of money to hold my hand through the process. And here we are. And some dimensions deviated from the original plan. They are tiny deviations. They're insignificant. I'm an engineer. I build buildings. I know how this works. These are insignificant details. They're nothing.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
I appreciate that, but I do think you need to understand that were this a new project or were this a redevelopment project and there would be nothing allowed in the 25-foot. I don't think that has ever been explained to you, that what you got as an order of conditions from the commission was an exception rather than a rule. They were very generous with you, allowing you to do any work within that 25-foot. That is a no disturb zone under our bylaw. We didn't write the bylaws. We are just following the bylaws and working with them the best we can. And we want to work with you on this, Mr. Howe, and we think there's a way out of this. And we don't necessarily want to have to deny you the certificate of compliance. But right now, the way this stands, and with the information we have, and I think Caitlin can explain it to you more, it's not ready. It doesn't meet the waiver request. You had to apply for a waiver to do the work you did when you filed with us. And we put out conditions. Most of them were standard in the order of conditions, but there were some special conditions. And every one of those special conditions, based on the information we have at hand right now, were not adhered to, unfortunately. We're not holding you responsible for that, but we want to protect this resource, and we think there's a way to do that, despite the fact that you've gone ahead and proceeded without any record of anyone on the commission approving the additions.
I don't know what to say. I've gone to the city with every move and said, who should I talk to make sure this is okay?
Well, it is your responsibility to have that order of conditions and to look at those conditions and to make sure they're followed as the applicant. And maybe that wasn't explained to you completely, and we're
It-
here now
it
at this
definitely
point, and
was
let's try to
not.
work. Okay.
It definitely was not.
Okay, well, we are not responsible for that. We're responsible for protecting the resource, and we want to work with you to do that. And we're hoping that we can find a way to move past the deficiencies and get to something that you would be happy. I think you'll be happier if you're able to put in some ecological restoration there. We can give you some guidance on that. But I'm going to leave that to the commission on whether they feel so strongly about it being denied, or
May I
whether
ask a
they feel
question?
that an amended order could be completed, which would address these deficiencies. And Virginia hasn't finished commenting, by the way. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead, Virginia.
The reason I raised my hand wasn't my questions. It was rather to the view that that when something is actually, you already did that. You told them about whether it has buildings on it or not and what we do, but also in the order conditions, it has a condition in it that states that if you're going to change it or need to change it, you've got to come back to the commission, not just talk to the agent. Unless we talk to the agent and say, could you get me on the agenda, or could you tell them, something like that. So talking to the building inspectors, their administrative assistants, they don't work for the Conservation Commission. They may know a lot about it, but they don't work for it. So I'm sorry, but I do think there was something you could see. And if you're an engineer, you're smarter than I am. And so if I can understand an order conditions, sometimes I have to read it a second time. But if I can't imagine you can't. So that's where our directions are. We respond to what you want to do. You show us a plan. We say, okay, we talk about different things and all agreements. And then we say, okay, right in order conditions, you just follow this and we're both happy. Right now, I think nobody's happy. So I do think that's important for me to present. I mean, I had a lot to say about the report you had from Goddard, but you don't have Goddard with you right now, do you?
Hancock, it's
Yeah.
Hancock.
Oh, here's in Hancock. Sorry. Yep. Okay. Gotcha. All right.
I defer to
Okay,
Caitlin and Joe.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. One other thing. There are two people on the commission right now. Sandy and myself, and I do remember this filing because it's so unusual to have a filing with two houses on the same lot. So I do remember, and I remember talking to the applicant and stuff to see what they wanted and we could do and all. And what came out with was that plan that was accepted with the other conditions, and we made one big deal about it on the prop when we took a site walk as well as in the meeting. Was that the just a minute. What we were really we spent time with making sure that any work being done in the no disturb, and we tried to work with the applicant to move everything out we could, and that accepted plan was what was done. So since I remember all of the discussion, and apparently we all knew what we were gonna do, and then I see them come in and, well, it's only a foot, it's only 2 feet. I agree that most people, that's all it is, but for the Conservation Commission, it isn't. It is important. And I think Nancy, you actually covered a lot of things, which explains why it's important to us. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Alicia,
Are there
I don't know if you can see me now or not.
no, I can't, but Sandy, go ahead.
yeah.
Thanks, Sandy Cotting. For the record, I do not believe I was on the commission yet when this originally came before the commission.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't see your name on the signatures.
I definitely didn't sign it. I was
No,
not here when the agent prior to Brian Colleran was here, so I'm quite sure that it was before my time. Um,
okay.
I just wanted to say that uh, number one, I think for me, a site visit would be helpful to see what this all looks like in person. And number two, that I would lean more towards amending rather than denying.
Okay, I see, thank you. Alicia Brennan has her hand up.
I think it
Hi.
was me. Oh,
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 sorry.
Alicia,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Denise.
Yeah.
Oh, just a
Alicia.
quick comment regarding the garage. I did see in the email documentation that one of the prior commissioners said that it was outside the buffer. The change that you had dropped out was outside the buffer. So I don't know if there was just a miscommunication or whatever. But in fact, if that's what he thought and that's what you dropped off, if the change that you dropped off is in fact what you built to, um, I would have to stand by, I think, the email that said, don't worry about it. But I think my bigger concerns are the decks. But that's all.
Did Alicia Brennan have her hand up?
Yes, I did. So, hi, my name is Alicia Brennan. I'm the planning coordinator for the town of Hamilton. So, I work closely with Bethany, and we spent about, I'd say, 3 or 4 hours today reviewing a lot of the old documents, trying to find a paper trail for the communications. And when we were going through the narrative written by Hancock Associates, it was specified that the changes in this plan that have been constructed were only reviewed by Brian Colleran, who was the conservation administrator at the time. Doesn't say approved, it says they were approved by the building inspector right before it and reviewed by Brian Colleran. So I just wanted to make that distinction because I don't know if we're necessarily even missing an approval from Brian, if it may not even exist. So I just I didn't want to shift blame to anybody about where that fell through the cracks. I think it was just a matter of maybe things got lost in translation and it wasn't brought before the commission, which would typically be the due process for something like this. And I did want to comment too that I was looking at the plans and I calculated that the deck extension, if it were, solid wood, would be about 106, give or take, square feet added onto the deck. And that would be, in my mind, that's a decent amount of space that's protruding into the no disturb zone for in terms of my opinion. And of course that's not accounting for the slats in the wood. So it's semi pervious, which is helpful, but of course it is still disrupting the stormwater patterns. And I do think it would be helpful to have some kind of stormwater mitigation would have been implemented throughout the process anyway, but to have, like you had mentioned, ecological restoration, maybe a line of vegetation to help with some of that extra stormwater runoff coming from the deck that would normally not be there because it'd be percolating into the existing soil and rocks and everything that was on the land. But those are I actually had a question too for either Hancock or Mr. Howe. I was wondering why the cantilevering of the home extension was not mentioned. If that was in the intention all along, because it seems to be a pretty intertwined with the extension of the deck, and I was just curious about how that connected with this plan that was brought before the Conservation Commission, considering part of it is in that no disturb zone.
It was an idea I had. We had never intended to demolish these buildings and rebuild them. When we bought the property 6 years ago, our intention was just to fix them up. And as we got into the buildings, they were rotten, they were collapsing, they were falling down. And the two different builders we worked with persuaded me to start over again. So we took each building down one at a time, down to the foundation. We maintained the existing foundations on both buildings. And when we got to building the 140, which is where we live, that's our home, I came up with an idea to cantilever the top floor off of the foundation. So we maintained the foundation exactly as it was, but when we built the main floor, we extended it 1.5 feet toward the lake, 1 foot toward the street, to gain a little bit of square footage in the house, but without disturbing the foundation, the dirt, the yard, anything. We didn't dig anything. We didn't dig a foundation, nothing. And that then was run by the building inspector and Mary Ellen Feener. And I said, is there anybody else I should be talking to about this? And I was assured, no, we're good. And so that's why I did not, and that combined with my ignorance about how things work here, I did not understand that that would be a trigger to go back and redo the entire conservation plan proposal that I had hired Hancock to do back in 2021. So that's my bad.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. That gives a lot of context to why the deck was extended the way it was. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, you're most welcome. I was trying to be a good guy and do the right thing.
Alicia, did you include the area they took the steps out of and put it and just squared off the deck when you were figuring it
I
out?
didn't include the steps area. I only included the extensions that led to the steps.
Yeah, so that picture that's showing on the screen right now, way at the bottom of the picture, there are some red steps that are going back toward, let's call it back toward the garage. And when I designed this thing, I just plunked something down on the plan to, have a conversation with the inspector. Originally, those steps on the, let's call it the north side of the building that protrudes straight up the page, were going to go alongside the house to stay out of any kind of, whatever you call it, the zone,
The no
zone,
disturb
whatever.
zone.
Okay, there's an arborvitae tree sitting right at that corner, right where you're pointing, that I really liked. And my wife and I had originally, we were going to kill the tree and make the stairs go down there. And I convinced her to let me keep the tree and make the stairs go out the side. So that's why the stairs are pointed that direction. They were originally supposed to come back straight toward the house. The original deck on this property had stairs. You're not seeing what I bought. There were appendages on the house. There was an oil tank shed on the south side of the house, right where the I don't know, it's the
The old shed.
where that line's going through, just to the left of where those red stairs are. There was a big building with an oil tank in it that I got rid of the oil tank. I tore the building off. It was external to the foundation. The original plan we had submitted had a big addition coming out of the front of the building, which we abandoned due to budgetary considerations. If you go back to the original, which I don't even know which version of this thing we're looking at, there was a big addition going to stick out of the front of 140 toward where the garage is. We abandoned that. And instead, we put a very small deck on the front. The original house had a deck on the front. So, I mean, if we go from what I bought, what you're seeing is an interim drawing here that was my proposal for what we wanted to do. But if you would go back to the original, like the lot with all the stuff on it, there were sheds all over the place. There was all kinds of stuff that isn't represented on this drawing. And so we're kind of, we're contextually a little bit out of sync here in that what we started with isn't this. This is what I had proposed as an idea in 2020 as a new homeowner buying this property with these dilapidated buildings that were falling down, and what am I going to do? And so the original work with Hancock was an idea. And when the idea morphed over time, I had asked Bert Cummings, Brian Colleran, should I be doing something here? And I was told by them, in writing, you're good. So I don't know who to talk to. If those guys aren't the right guys to answer that question, I'm just a little knucklehead from Minnesota. This is all new to me, and I'm trying to learn how the process works. And these guys went, "You're okay." So I proceeded.
Okay,
Your plan,
thank
sir.
you.
Go ahead.
Are there any other comments? Otherwise, we
Yep.
should, you have some other comments, Virginia?
Just a couple, just one.
Okay, sure.
And that is that when you file with the commission, you file what you want to do. And we don't think, oh, this is what he thinks he wants to do. And he might change it a little bit here or there. That's not the way you present things to the commission, because we can't okay what you might decide in the future without you coming back to us.
That's
So,
why I called the
you said-
coordinator and said, "Should I be doing something now?"
and if you look in your order of conditions, it says to talk to the commission.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
an
you're
engineer.
part of the one.
Now this is here. What are we look? Who's
This is
sharing the screen?
I wanted to put this up real quick. This is what the approved plan was that's referenced in the order of conditions. So I just wanted to highlight these are the expansions that Bill is referencing that were not completed. I just wanted to throw it up there so everyone could see and compare to the other plan that I had up was the as-built plan. And so I just wanted to, because I know that some of the commission members were not on the commission during the hearing process. So again, I just wanted to share this for everyone's
Yeah,
edification.
this looks familiar. I remember this.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
there-
I'm sorry, Virginia.
There were a lot of things that we had put on the plan that we didn't actually do.
That's not
'Cause we-
unusual.
If I may, I think that it would be beneficial for us to maybe open a discussion about how we could move forward and come to a place where you all are happy with the site. Maybe we could discuss that shoreline remediation so that we could move
Can I ask a
forward.
question about that, Caitlin?
Sure.
What are we talking about remediation? We never touched a molecule of the shoreline through
So
this whole
you
process.
didn't, but it was referenced in the
I think
notice.
that reference was intended to repair any damage that was done
So
during
it was actually part
construction.
of the waiver request. So it was kind of an offering to keep the commission happy to approve for this work to take place in the no disturb zone.
I would like to clarify, it wasn't to
Okay.
keep the commission happy. It was to fulfill the waiver requirements in the bylaw that the functions and values of the wetlands are preserved.
Mhm.
It wasn't to make us
So-
happy. We
So
don't
does this
have
mean planting something
Yeah.
along the slope?
bylaws.
What does remediation look like?
It's actually not remediation. What the word that was used was ecological restoration or ecological,
Apologies for using the wrong word. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Me too.
I didn't.
I'm trying to learn here. So there is natural vegetation. It's a steep grade. If you actually go to the site, it's about a 6-foot drop right along where the water is. And it was naturally, there's all kinds of weeds and plants and things that grow there. And not a single molecule of that was disturbed. So what should we be adding to that to whatever the term is, restore, remediate, whatever? What should I do?
Well, actually, there's a lake and pond guide that is out there, and chapter 4 talks about the actions that homeowners should take. And on page 37, they lay out a sample of what a wetland mitigation would look like or ecological restoration would look like. And I think that that's a good place to start.
So we should plant some things along that bank.
But not just some plants that are native. And we can provide you the link to the Lake and Pond Guide that's been prepared for the state on how to protect your resource area. And it also goes into what homeowners should be doing. And we also have a list of native vegetation that can help guide you on what we would like to see to protect those resource areas. And we'd also like to look at the impervious cover area and try to match it up with what existed, pre-existing on the site. Maybe take a look at removing things. I don't know what the concrete ramp is. I'm just looking at the plan boldly. I know there's concrete steps. There's other ways to provide steps that would be more pervious. The gravel driveway maybe could be narrowed and vegetated there. So in other words, naturalize what is not built. So that could absorb a lot of the stormwater and act as a best management practice for that site. So we'd like to get that understanding of the imperviousness that's there, try to match it up as closely with what existed beforehand. One thing, in my opinion, should be done. And if it's off significantly, I would consider seriously removing some of the concrete things that are on that property and making anything you can pervious.
They've been there for 50 to 60 years.
Well, I don't think they're
I-
historic, are they?
I inherited them. Donnie and Diane Thompson were the previous owners of the property, in case anybody knows them. And much of this stuff was done by them, and I just bought it.
Would that be helpful, that information?
Nancy,
Yeah, I'm on the Chabaco Lake Watershed Association. I'm Dave Lash and you know, Sue McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're my friends.
Okay.
Me too.
And, well, we haven't decided how we want to proceed, but, and that's sort of my vision of it.
I guess tell me what I need to do and I'll do it.
Okay.
Nancy,
Yes,
this is
Bethany?
Bethany.
This is-
Alicia and I'm the newer conservation agent, like the fifth one of this project, I guess. In my opinion, and this is solely my opinion after reviewing, spent most of my days in Hamilton the past 2 weeks reviewing this notice of intent. I feel like the best course of action, in my opinion, it is an amended order of conditions, because I feel like it's not so far off for a whole new notice of intent. They can do an amended order of conditions. They already have the as-built plan, and they can work with us with an ecological restoration and with the impervious calculations. And I feel like we can move forward with the good steps all together. But this is my opinion.
Thank you, Bethany.
Mhm.
If there are no other comments, does anyone want to make a motion? And I can't see Denise now, and I can't see Sandy. So if you're raising your hand, you'll have to speak up.
Okay, I'm here, and I would make a recommendation that to follow Bethany's suggestion and have her work with the applicant in terms of amending the order of conditions to address the changes and to offset some of the changes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jeremy Foster, I'll second.
Okay. If there are no other comments, I guess we can take a vote on that. Or if there are comments on that motion on the floor to amend the order, if people feel differently, let me know. Okay. We can take a vote on that then.
Sorry, Nancy, could you just clarify what we're voting on?
Okay.
I guess
We're voting
procedurally,
on
I'm unclear
proceeding.
on where we are.
Okay. The choices are to give a certificate of compliance, deny the certificate of compliance for non-compliance, give a partial certificate of compliance, or an amended order of conditions, or a new order of conditions. Those are the options available to the commission. I believe Bethany circulated some information on that, so the commission has that. And there's a motion on the floor to request an amended order of conditions so that we can proceed with the changes and get that clarified fully to understand the imperviousness and to fulfill the commitment that was made in the waiver for an ecological restoration and address the issues that we've discussed today.
I'm with you up until the last part because we have to provide the amended order of conditions, I think. So,
They have to apply for it.
No,
They-
they
they
can
have to-
apply for an amended order
Okay,
of conditions.
but we don't have one to vote on, I guess is my
No,
point.
no,
Like,
no. Okay.
We're
So I'm not
requesting
sure.
one. We're not issuing one. You're not issuing one. You're requesting that they have one.
That they file an
File.
amended order of
They file an
conditions.
amended order of conditions.
Uh,
Yes,
uh,
exactly.
All right.
Well,
So that's fine. I'm
File
not sure
for
if that's
an
something
amended.
we have to vote on, but if that's something we have to vote on, fine.
I don't know. Some of these Robert's rules get to,
If you do extra.
but I think where this is a big
If you
project
don't
and
know,
reviews-
imagine what I feel.
well, Robert's rules are just beyond we know the wetlands issues better than Robert's rules. All right, but why don't we just vote on it and make sure people feel that that's the right option, just because there are other options. Jeremy Foster,
Aye.
Denise Kelly,
Aye.
Virginia Cookson,
Aye.
Sandy Cotting,
Aye.
and Nancy Baker, aye. Okay, Bill and Caitlin, feel free to talk to Bethany if you have any questions about this discussion tonight. And we'll work with you and get this, move this forward. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you'll be
With-
impressed at how nice it actually turned out.
They are cute houses, I will tell you that.
Well, I'm glad you're happy there. Good.
Well,
Virginia,
I
sorry.
was happier before the meeting, but I'll get over it.
I was just wondering whether Hancock would be doing it with them because they obviously know how to do the project, and they also of course can reference the same information that you gave.
Yes, they will be doing it.
Okay.
I've
Oh.
already paid them an astounding amount of money, and I will pay them another astounding amount of money.
I'll be happy to help Bill, Caitlin, Joe. Just please email me. I'm very happy to help you all.
Great. Thank you. Thank you
I will-
everyone for your time and for working through this with us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Aye.
Have a great
Good night.
night.
Okay, we have the third item here. Maybe we should all take a deep breath. I know I need to take a deep breath. Notice of intent for Mass DEP file number 1720663. 3 Spingler Way, or is it Drive? I don't know which it is.
It
On
is
Mass
a
Map.
drive. It is drive. Mark and I we're like, what is it? And we had to go to the assessor's office and figure that out. But it is drive, yes.
Okay, so I was right. Okay, all right. I did find that.
What did you say? It's Drive?
Yeah, it's not
It's
way,
3
it's Drive.
Spingler Drive.
Drive.
Even though in the
Thank-
notice of intent application it was 3 Spingler Way. But
I don't
it is
understand.
drive.
I don't
We had the wrong
understand
address.
The wrong address.
Okay. Is
Um,
there
I
someone here?
request. No, this was to review the order of conditions like all together. But I'm having trouble loading it, so review the minutes, I guess, while I try to pull it up.
Oh, okay. All righty. Sounds good. The minutes.
So
Did
the
anybody, I hope everyone reviewed. I shouldn't say did anybody. I'm sure you all did. The minutes from 2/25/26 and 2/12. Oh, is it 2/25/26 and 2/12/26? Those are the minutes?
Oh no, that was a typo that Alicia
was
and I
two-
discovered.
That was
It's
2/25, wasn't it?
2/25, 2026 and 2/12, 2025. It was a
Oh.
missing minutes.
Yeah, that's what
that
I
you
thought. When I
discovered.
saw this on the amended, I thought I reviewed 2025 minutes.
Oh my
No,
I reviewed
it was
goodness.
the
a
wrong
missing
thing.
minutes that Alicia and I
Okay.
discovered together because it was recorded my first day in Hamilton on like Mark's account. So it's not the usual Zoom account.
Okay. All right.
So that
So are
was
these
why
the
it was
only
missing.
missing ones? Are these the only ones
Yep.
that are missing? Okay.
So this is supposed to be 25. Okay.
Yeah.
When I tried to access it,
Okay.
in Word, and so
Did people
I don't
review
think-
2025 or 2026, or maybe we need to extend this? I don't know now. I'm confused.
I did read them both. You weren't you were present at the 2025,
Right.
Nancy.
Right. I did
To the
review that.
best of my memory, they look right, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
Same for me.
Jeremy.
Jeremy Foster. I also read both. I'm not sure I can vote on the earlier one just because I wasn't on the commission at that time. But yeah, I did read both.
Thank you. And Sandy, any thoughts? You okay?
Same as Denise. I read that older one. It sounded
looks
right,
right.
but it's a year ago, so
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion
I
to
didn't read
approve.
it.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 12th, 2025.
Thank
second.
you. Okay, and we'll just do
Sandy
a,
Cotting, second.
okay. I'm not going to do a full roll call. Is there anybody opposed? I'll ask that.
But I'm
No?
going to abstain.
Okay, Virginia abstains, the rest of us. Are you going to abstain too, Jeremy, because you weren't here?
I think I
He
should
wasn't-
abstain. Yes.
Yeah.
I knew it was
Okay.
25. I could have reviewed it, but it said 26.
Okay, I read them. They seemed okay to me. So I think we still have a quorum in favor. It's Denise, Sandy, and myself.
Mhm.
And there's the 2026 minutes.
What?
There was
Well,
the 2026 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. I thought we were approving both of them. Now I'm really confused.
No, I was
Which one?
just doing, because I
One and
didn't think
12?
everybody could approve both, so I just did the first one.
Okay. Okay.
And the second, I will also make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2026.
Sandy Cotting, second.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Anyone not review them?
Me, it's that 2025. I couldn't get it to show on my
Did you
screen.
review the 2026
No,
one?
well, because it said 26. If I knew it said 25, I simply would have gone back to my minutes. But so
You weren't present at the February 25th, 2026
Oh, that's
meeting,
true.
Virginia.
Okay.
So
That's fine. In fact, I wrote that down somewhere. Yes, you're right. Anyways, I abstained.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I should call roll. Jeremy Foster,
Aye.
Sandy Cotting,
Aye.
Denise Kelly,
aye.
Nancy Baker, aye. Virginia Cookson?
Abstain.
Okay, good. So there it's clear for the record. On new business, I guess we potentially have a new commissioner
Yeah.
joining us, going to be introduced next time. Bethany, do you want to
Yes.
explain?
Her name is Valerie Peck. She seems very excited to join. I gave her all the information, gave her the links to MACC and to our bylaw and regulations. And she's going to she's a retired realtor, and she is going to introduce herself in the next meeting on April 8th. Hooray!
Yeah. Well, what's your last name again?
Peck.
Okay.
Hooray. A long
Yeah,
time
it is
coming.
hooray. You finally got your wish, right?
I skipped over enforcement orders. I don't know why. Just
We-
missed it.
Yes.
Is there anything
Um,
new to report on that, Bethany?
No, I tried to call, no one answered. Um, So Alicia and I did mail out letter, and so hopefully they respond. Certified mail, return receipt.
Okay,
So,
we'll keep you posted.
yes. So I'm gonna pull up the draft order of conditions because Nancy and I were discussing that the commission should be familiarized with what we send out to the potential to the applicants once you guys approve an order of conditions. So I'm just gonna pull that up now if you're okay with that. Do. Just give me a second. Mm.
This one didn't have any special conditions, did it?
No, no, it did not. I know Denise just saw like an order of conditions because I just mailed it to her.
Mine came late, but that's okay.
Jeez.
Yes. I did mail it to her. And I just got the slip back today, actually. So this is an order of conditions, as we're all familiar with the Wetlands Protection Act, Form 5. It's an order of conditions. Like the other people, we request an amended order of conditions, so they would click this box. This is for 3 Spingler Drive, not Way. I wrote Drive because that's what is on the assessor in Registry of Deeds. That's what they have. And it's just like the project location, the Registry of Deed book so they can record it, the site approved plan, and you always write the final revision date. And this is the findings, like public water supply. It wasn't because it's a septic tank, so you do private water supply. Obviously, prevention of pollutions. They're not on any salt marsh, so no shellfish. It's approved.
Can I ask you a question, Bethany? Do you fill that in yourself of the
Yes.
going back to that table? Can you go back to that?
Yes.
You fill that out yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it would be different for each thing, so it has
Yeah,
to be.
so like
Yeah.
say I'm in Manchester by the Sea. If someone like there was harbor dredging recently, I would click like all these boxes because there's fisheries involved, there's a shellfish involved, but since they're not involved, but there's obviously storm damage prevention, we want flood control. Those are kind of boilerplate ones here because protection of wildlife habitat is like our main priority.
Yeah, there's nothing there for rare and endangered species or anything particular. It's just pretty generic.
Yes.
Is there a place to
approve-
put that information in?
You could in like special conditions. This is just like the state form. And I don't know if you can really edit like the state form itself like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't speak to our bylaw very well either, you know?
Right, this
We're
is the state
issuing an
form.
order. Yeah.
And it was like 50 because of the tree. And this is all coastal, so we skip this page because we're in Hamilton. There's no stream crossings and expires in 3 years, so 2029. The file number. And these are the boilerplate general conditions that the state provides. And this is for every single order of conditions project. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Where do they tell them to apply for the certificate of compliance? We've had so much trouble getting those in.
Right.
I'm thinking about the other one that we voted last time, which was crazy. The poor applicant didn't even know what it was.
It says here, it doesn't say when, but it says like
Number 12.
completion of work described herein, the applicant
Yeah.
shall submit, and shall is the key word, submit a request for certificate of compliance, WPA Form 8A to the Conservation Commission.
We need to emphasize that more. I think 30 days after completion of the project may not be doable, but some
I don't-
reasonable period of time. It shouldn't be 4 years later or 3 years later
No.
or 6 years later. These are silly. We saw one that
From
came
like
in when I was
90s
on the
and-
commission. just maybe 4 or 5 months ago. It was silly.
The state changed the rules, make sure they have to get a certificate of compliance before they can, get mortgages and stuff. And that's
Yeah, sell their house.
really
Yeah.
It's
recently.
the sale.
And
Yeah.
that's why everybody's is filing it, and it also explains why they're filing it that it's real old because it wasn't applied.
Right.
They're told
In
to.
Manchester, I literally saw one from 88 recently.
And that's
So,
got to change.
yeah.
I
I bet
mean,
there are old ones in your own file, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's-
It's
we
because
shouldn't we
people,
shouldn't have to dig for information like we did with this last one because it's so old. And then
yeah.
it's not reasonable to expect volunteers to have to go to
People-
that
yeah.
trouble. Can we somehow change that or make it a constant special condition?
We can probably add it to a special condition.
Well, it does say something about you need to file for it, but it doesn't have a time on it.
Well, the time is before it expires,
Before the
But-
permit expires.
which is 3 years.
Well, maybe we can emphasize that.
Yes. In a
You know,
single
you're-
family. Yeah.
At your peril, if you don't apply for it in 3 years, we may request a new notice of intent.
This is going to
Yeah.
happen a lot for us now because of the, of the ruling putting in, and there are houses that are selling that an awful lot of them have dangling certificate of compliance. It's not
Yeah.
asking.
Because they do their project and then they're like, all done. They don't think to close it out. Yeah.
True.
So a single family home is exempt from Massachusetts stormwater standards.
Yeah.
That is something that the state has decided.
Yeah.
It goes to the planning board, stormwater regulations goes to the planning board if the property is more than an acre, like the disturbance is more than an acre. That's what Alicia and I were discovering today about
All
it.
true.
Old Bridge Street.
And this is about stormwater, so we can skip.
Yep.
And here's where the bylaw comes in. Is there a bylaw applicable? And I say yes. Hamilton Conservation Commission. And A is for denial because it can't meet the bylaw conditions. And B is for it can meet the bylaw conditions, so it's approved under the bylaw. And it's chapter 17, and I see C attached for special conditions. If you need more space for additional conditions, so I always do C attached because there's pages of stuff. Yes, Virginia?
We just started using that part of the state form
Mhm.
some time ago. Usually it refers to the fact we have a form for our own bylaw order conditions. When Brian Collier was with us, he had suggested that we could just use what's on the back of the order conditions. And generally, instead of seeing attached, it generally says that the order conditions under the EPA order conditions will be the same as ours for our bylaw. And I have a problem with that because that means there are 2 orders conditions that need to be recorded, and you have to pay for each one, okay? And by having it on this, they only file 1 order of conditions, 1 form. So they're only filing half of what was required all along. I mean, that was my problem when they wanted to add it. To this. It does simplify things, obviously. I said, I don't see how you can do that. But so I couldn't.
In Manchester and Carlisle,
Yep.
we always just reference the bylaw on the state form. We never had a different form.
So you
for
only
it.
have them filed the 1 order conditions in 1 filing.
Exactly. Yes.
Well,
For the other towns.
missing out on a lot of
worked
money.
for.
Okay, just FYI. Okay.
Your names, appeals, because there's a 10-day appeal period. So that's why I wait to issue an order of conditions in case some abutter or someone has the right to appeal. So you wait 10 days. Yep. Recording information that is filled out by the applicant, owner of the property. Instructions, how to record and send money to DEP. And here are the special condition page. Yes, Virginia? You're gonna say something?
We usually say at a meeting, for some people, they're in a hurry to get started. And we always say, if you start sooner than
Mhm.
I was telling them there's a 10-day window for appeal. So if you start earlier, you're doing it on your own peril.
Yeah, that's what I warn people of as well.
Yeah,
When
okay.
they're like, I want to do this now. It's like, well,
You can just take
people
it.
have a right for a 10-day appeal period. This is the special conditions
Yep.
for 3 Spingler Way. This is what it looks like. Here's the file number. And it basically is about their project. How it will expire in 2029. Commission orders that all work shall be performed in accordance with the said conditions. Anyone have any questions? Nancy, anyone?
No.
Okay,
I
I'll
think,
continue.
I think it, given what we heard from Mr. Howe,
Mm-hmm.
that he didn't,
Maybe
and
this
this,
page.
and his special conditions were right after the state conditions in that order.
Yeah.
I'm troubled by the fact that it just says see attached. I think there needs to be some more notification. These conditions in the attachment must be complied with as well. I think, some way to direct the applicant to this information. And I don't know, maybe, I know you're doing so much spoon feeding of these folks and we're getting materials so late, which is really not fair for volunteers, as we've discussed many times.
Yeah, that's
If
why
there's some way to communicate to these people that, this needs to be complete and they need to have addressed all of these things for a certificate of compliance and really paid attention to what's in the orders. But,
I agree.
I know you do. Virginia?
that's one of the reasons that we would not accept a filing unless when it comes in, it gets checked out that everything is in there that we need. And if there isn't, you of course have to call them or tell them that they need more information. And the time that's going to start, that 21-day window, doesn't start until you receive a completed filing. So that should help a little bit.
Well,
If
Virginia,
Yeah.
I've spoken to this is my Manchester knowledge. I've spoken to DEP about the 21-day
Yeah.
thing, and 21 days starts when there's just an administratively complete state form and follows the WPA guidelines. That's when it starts. So that's why it's so hard to try to get information from these people in a timely manner.
Why are they still? I believe the application tells them that they need a plan and stuff.
Yeah, a plan.
Not the
Yeah, of
same
course.
area. Yeah,
Yeah.
but a plan, a plan has to have certain things on it. We don't tell them because we figure it's sort of self-evident.
Yeah.
You need the information, and
Right.
so you can't start it until then.
Okay. Alicia, you want to say something?
Yeah, I had a question. This is mostly for Bethany, but all of you might have input too. Since starting here and working with Bethany, I've noticed, obviously, and you guys have too, that there's a lot of confusion about the step-by-step process for a lot of these applications. And so I was wondering if it would be helpful for me and Bethany to work on some kind of resident guide. So if anybody's starting to apply to a project, maybe they have we make a flow chart or something, or step 1, and here's what to do before you start, here's what to do after you finish post-construction, here's what restoration really is, have a directory of restoration or remediation tactics and best management practices, kind of like a user guide almost.
A brochure.
Just because I feel like we're getting so many questions, because they send them to the planning department too, because there's just so much confusion about where
To go.
where to go, where to find things, who should be answering questions, like why was Mary Ellen getting a lot of these questions related to conservation? That's kind of unclear. So we're
Mhm.
just trying to streamline this a little bit and make it a little easier for everyone. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
I'm just the
Anybody have comments?
yes,
That
just
sounds like a good idea.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Sandy, I heard you say something. I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of it.
I
You
said
still-
it sounds like a good idea.
Oh, okay. All right.
I-
Thanks.
I know, I agree. I think it's a good idea. It's more comprehensive than what we have had before. We did have at least a set of directions on what was needed in order to get a filing accepted, and it doesn't get used in it, so I don't know sure where it is now. Should be on the computer with other forms that we have, if we can find that. Okay, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
was thinking there could be, oh, sorry, keep going. I didn't.
the other thing is that if somebody's applying to the planning board, then they should go to the planning board to give it to them. And if they're applying to conservation, they come to the conservation to get it. I mean, it's there's generally not one person that knows everything except possibly the building inspector. He has a checklist made only several years ago, listing all the departments, and he gives them, they have to take one of those and go to each department and have it checked off. And when they're all checked off, he goes to the building inspector and he can do his stuff. So I'm just thinking that they can't expect somebody from planning to tell them how the things work in another department. The other department can't do you.
Right.
Well, it's the kind of thing we could, even if it was just a link to a website format, a separate site or a separate section, separate page or something like that of the government website, and, include, you say, here's step one, and then you maybe have a screenshot of the A&R if it was planning, or you have the request for or certificate of compliance, stuff like that. You have visuals so people know what they're looking at, what to expect. We say, oh, we want a plan stamped by an engineer. What does that look like? Where does the stamp come? What aspects do we need? We need date, we need who planned it, that kind of thing. So we hopefully are not getting, multiply folded things that are scanned in and you can't read them, or they're written in pen. And so it's just kind of hard to, I know it's so hard on Bethany to keep getting back to these people, especially when they're not responsive, because there's just a clear miscommunication.
Sandy, got your hands up.
Yeah, it occurs to me that maybe there's an education issue here with some of the other coordinators. So if a homeowner goes to the planning board and says, do I need to do anything else? They may be thinking just with the blinders of what the planning board needs to do. And they say, oh, you're all set. And the homeowner says, oh, I'm all set. So maybe it's an education that they say, you're all set with the planning board, but make sure that you're all set with everybody else too.
And it becomes particularly dicey with the issue of stormwater, where conservation commissions have certain responsibilities and requirements for stormwater, and the planning board has the regulations. So we need to sort through that.
I think it helps that Mark and Alicia and I are more like conjoined as like a land use department. So I can know like what's going on in the planning world. So in case there is something conservation wise, like Alicia can tell me because she sees those planning board applications.
And I'm hoping that's something I've been talking with Corinne, our town clerk. And we've been trying to talk about finding some way to make the whole government a little more collaborative, because I mean, obviously it's not helpful when we have the building department in another side of town and we can't collaborate with what's going on. Some of the zoning stuff falls to them, some of it falls to the planning board, and it's unclear where the responsibilities lie, what direction the applications take. And so we're hoping there'll be a little more cohesion when we move into the town hall, so that way we can at least coordinate easier with people like the assessors, or if there's any financial things that come up. But it really, I think it's the kind of thing where we need to have some kind of meeting or something like that. And that's not your responsibility, but it's just something we've been trying to float out there just to try to make the communication a little more clear, because it's not at this point.
I
It
think
doesn't help. Yeah, the building department is in a different building. And I've personally never met the building inspector ever.
so.
So,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna quickly interject. I think Bill Howe, who is still on the
Oh,
meeting,
hi,
had
Bill.
sent in a chat saying, this is what he's trying to do. However, going through the emails, I think Mary Ellen is usually pretty good, and she's probably the better contact, being the admin for building. And she did suggest, Bill, I think, and if you go back through your old emails, you had reached out to Concom because Mary Ellen had suggested that you run things by them, the changes that you dropped off with them. So I think as long as we can get Mary Ellen and the building inspector, just remind them, make sure that if there was anything that you required from us originally, any changes need to be run by. But generally, I think Mary Ellen's pretty good at that.
Yes.
The building permit site, to issue a building permit, if there's any like wetlands near there, I have to like review it. So usually like 18 Old Cart Way didn't have any road, didn't have Conservation Commission, but I messaged them through the building permit app to say that you had to file because you're near a wetland. So the building permit app where people submit things to be built, I review to make sure that there's like no wetlands near their project.
Yeah,
So
just
that's something, yeah.
you sign.
Okay, any further comments? If not, I think we've come to the end of our meeting. We have another meeting
Yes.
scheduled on April 8th, 2026. I hope everybody will be able to join us. And
A new potential member, yeah.
meet Valerie.
Tell
Shall we?
tell them that you doubled their salary every year. That's what I used to tell them when I was chair. I'm doubling everybody's salary from 0 to 0. Over new applicant might think it's funny.
Okay, so can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you on the 8th of April.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
Bye,
so much,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.